Starliner Media. Starliner Media presents Music Night at the Majestic with your host, Michael Boswell.
All right, it's time once again for Music Night at the Majestic, and with us tonight, Peter Horvath of the Anderson Council. Peter, welcome to the show.
How do you do, Michael?
Well, so far so good. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right.
That's all you can ask for.
That's all I've got.
Well, I mean, you could ask for more, but folks either think that you're greedy. Or well, Jay, you've got the new album out, so obviously we want to talk about The Devil, the Tower, the Star, the Moon, out on Gem Records. But as we often say on this show, every musician's journey starts somewhere. Where was that somewhere for you?
My journey started when I was probably 13. That would be 40 years ago. And me and a couple friends just decided, well, it was time. It was time to start a band because punk rock said so. Punk rock said we could do it. Even if we didn't know how to play, we could start a band. So we did. And we got less terrible as time went on. And eventually actually learned to play for real. And fast forward to today, I haven't seemed to been able to stop doing it, whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, if it's a passion, why would you stop?
True. I don't, I'm not a sports person, so I don't have that to fall back on. And I don't know. I'm not particularly hobby oriented. So,
well, music's also
music. It is.
Tell me this: were you a big record collector as a kid?
I bought a fair amount of records. Looking back on it, probably not as many as I could / should or would have if I had more cash to spend.
That is one of the problems of youth.
Right. Yeah. No job equals no records, I suppose. Luckily, the record store I frequented at the time was the home of the $1.99 special. So there was that.
Tell me this: what was your best $1.99 special find?
That's a very good question. Possibly the Andy Partridge solo album Takeaway, The Lure of Salvage, which was a weird record. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but he took a bunch of XTC multi-tracks and did things to them and made new songs out of them, which I thought was really, really cool. And it was also a fun game to try to figure out what song is this really?
As I say, put the pieces of the puzzle together.
Right, exactly. So,
yeah. Now, do you recall what the first one you bought was? The first album? The
first album I ever bought was the VJ Records introducing the Beatles with that tan cover. Yeah, I bought it in JCPenney. I don't know, I'm not even sure if there's still a store or not, but that's where I bought it.
In places. They are in places.
Right.
Just not as many as they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
How about the first 45?
First 45. The first 40. No. I'm not sure. That's a good question. Weirdly, I have a book where I've kept a log of all my albums and 45s and stuff like that, and CDs, just as I buy them. Not, I don't have separate lists, so I'm not exactly sure. It was probably something by Hall & Oates. I do remember that, but that seems a little too late to be the first. But
yeah,
who can say? Maybe we'll say something silly like "Kiss on My List" by Hall & Oates.
Oh, there you go.
But you never know. There could be something before that.
Yeah. Well, John was on the show, a while back, so he'd be happy to hear that. His record may have been one of your first 45.
Right on.
I'll tell you that the Anderson Council, you guys formed in '99, correct?
Yes, sir.
And as you listen to each album, each one is slightly different. You've got to show growth along the way. Sometimes you're a little more psych leaning, sometimes you're a little more, British Invasion influence on it. Who would you cite as the band's biggest influences, or your influences, I should say?
Well, I mean, personally, I've been a big XTC fan since I was 9, 10, somewhere in that range, which is kind of weird to me. But XTC, the Jam, of course, the Beatles and all that sort of thing too. But and even like the Knack, I have all the Knack's records, and I really, for all their slightly cringy, misogynistic lyrics, those are some darn good songs overall. In the pop rock idiom. So I can sort of not listen to the words.
Well, say Doug could write a great riff, a good hook, and a melodic structure that sticks in your head.
Absolutely. And so I mean, those are probably the big three: the Knack, the Jam, XTC. There's got to be more in there. Yeah, there was also quite a bit of punk stuff. Which on its own, they're stealing from the greats, just like I was. I mean, would there be punk without the Who? I don't know.
No, there would, because every generation takes something from the previous. Yeah. The key is to take it and do something new, something different with it, so you're not just a note for note copy.
Exactly.
And the stuff that lasts is always the stuff that's unique. So,
yeah.
Now, from a songwriting perspective, who would you cite as your biggest songwriting influences?
I don't know. Probably a repeat of the previous list, but I would tend to, and I'm surprised I didn't mention them as an influence in general, but Difford and Tillbrook from Squeeze. Those dudes can write a song. Oh my God, they can write a song.
Well, I was actually, Peter, gonna ask you if they, how much, because you could hear the influence, not that you're copying, but you could hear, your love of Squeeze, in your songs.
Yeah,
that's a good thing.
I agree, it's a good thing. I think they are just wonderful at what they do, and no matter. I mean, I have a favorite Squeeze period and a favorite Squeeze lineup, but I've, heard earlier period Squeeze songs done by later lineups, and they still come across as like the thing that got me in the first place, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Even Elvis Costello, you know, the man who can, you know, fit 50 words in the space of where only 10 words should go. You know, that's a feat, and he keeps doing it, which is insane.
Yeah, he is kind of the Dickens of the 3-minute pop song.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, you know, all those, you know, I guess I can't really say, oh, you know, this obscure band that nobody has ever heard of is my greatest influence, and you can't check me on it because they're so obscure. You know?
You just make something up.
Right.
You never heard of the Sisterhood of Spit? Come on now.
Exactly. I mean, you know, I don't really I like a lot of, you know, bands that only managed to put out one single, or, you know, and then imploded. But that single, wow, that single was so good. And the B-side, wow, it was like the same song, but like backwards. But they played it forwards, you know. Just little things like that are what really interests me. Like that, that the period, the seemingly very short period of time where like the pop song and the single collided with the whole psychedelia thing, where like these singles that were coming out were these great masterpieces. Like they threw everything they had at this song, you know, the whole, not even just the kitchen sink, but the whole like first floor of the house, whatever room it was, they threw it at the song to make it like this crazy, you know, not necessarily, you know, oh, it's like a spaceship taking off or whatever. It's just like whatever they had, they put towards this song, and they made the song just like perfect. So like, you know, so many bands did that, and so many songs were like that, and you don't know who these people are, you know. Maybe they, you know, maybe they had like an earlier version of the band that, like, you know, was like a beat group, and then they turned maybe into like a R&B kind of styling, and then suddenly they're a psych band, and then, you know, and then they all bought denim jackets, and they turned into the boogie or the blues type thing, or heavy rock or whatever, you know, as they progressed. I love those bands, even to the point of when they get all, you know, long haired and blues based. I can even listen to some of that, but I mean, I definitely prefer the you know, pop turning into psychedelia before that became a bloated carcass
of what it once was.
Right.
Remember ye when
they before they started taking themselves so very, very seriously. You know.
I'm with you.
That was a long-winded answer to what are your influences, but, you know, that's really it. And, you know, like I mentioned, the whole you know, listening to punk and hardcore bands when I was younger, and being in bands like that was a learning experience, because if you're terrible, it really shows. Like, you have to play fast, you have to be able to play fast. You know, otherwise it's just garbage. So by that token, if you slow down and write a 2.5 minute pop song, you can probably play it really well, which is nice.
Exactly. I'll tell you, with the new album, you're working once again with Kurt Reil.
Yes, sir.
Super nice guy, great producer. What's it like working with Kurt for you?
Kurt and I get along really well. I mean, we come from, the same area, basically, schools of thought and whatnot about songs and writing and, the aesthetic of the time or whatever. He doesn't understand my enjoyment of loud, fast, hardcore bands, but that's fine. One day, he always makes jokes.
You will lead him to the light.
Right. He always makes jokes about, my punk edge and all that. So we almost get into fights, but not really. But yeah.
Well, how close did you come on the new album? What was like the testiest moment in recording this one?
There weren't really all that many. I mean, at this point in our illustrious career and working together, we kind of know what each other wants and or doesn't want.
Mm-hmm.
Like before we start recording the record, I bring him a bunch of demos that either are the full band or it's just me playing everything or whatever it is. And, we go through them all and take notes and do all that and say, oh yeah, this is the one, this is the single, this, or maybe this is kind of an outlier or whatever. Does that really fit with what you're going for? So we get all the arguments and disagreements out early in the process. And then, maybe in the middle, we'll take stock of where we're at and, listen down to all the tracks that we've recorded again, just to see, are we missing something? Has this one gone a bit south from what it should be or could be or whichever? And then there's always, little disagreements during the mix. It's just something that happens. Usually I have patience for, I'd say probably the original mix and then maybe 2 revisions after that. And then my brain shuts
You're
off
done.
and I can't think anymore.
Tell me this, Peter. Well, you mentioned about, saying, hey, this is single, track could be a single. How often do the songs that you think would be singles at the demo stage become singles once the album's complete?
I'd say pretty often, because I feel like, we are the ones who pick the singles less than someone else. It's either the band and Kurt and maybe Marty from Gem, as a whole, pick the singles, and we all kind of think similarly.
Yeah. Well, speaking of singles, "Alone with You" is the first one from the new album.
It's true.
How did you? What about that track made you say, "This is it. We're going to kick things off with this one"?
I mean, it's a good opener, and it the second the song starts, it's just like, right at you. It gets you going, it gets you moving, and there's hooks upon hooks, and we hammer the title of the song into your brain nonstop, which is great. And so it's an effective single, I think.
Yeah. And then you followed it up with Times in the Thames.
Yep.
Now the video of that, there's all the old footage of 60s England intercut with you guys playing. All that footage really kind of sets the mood.
Yeah, I mean, if I had my way, every video that we did would just be us playing the song, because I have no imagination whatsoever when it comes to that, with the video for Alone With You, I'm like, I want to split the screen into parts, and I want you to film this part of me, and then I want you to film this other part of me with a different camera, but have them on screen at the same, I'm just like making stuff up as I go along and hoping that the guy who shoots the video understands what I'm saying. So that's why most of our videos are just us, us playing the song, showing off our guitar collection, because we're switching guitars every take, and that's like our thing. Or I'm pushing up my glasses at the end of the video, because that's another thing that I do. But
it's a motif.
Yes. With Times on the Thames, I'm like, we already have we have a show full of one show that we did, we decided to play a bunch of songs, most of the new record, and our friend came and filmed it with, I don't know, 2 or 3 or 4 cameras, whatever it was. And I'm like, well, we could use this footage at a later date. So the later date showed up, and I'm like, okay, I get to have my wish of having a performance video, but I was like, let's intercut it with stock footage of Swing in London, because why not?
Because we can.
And it would be easy to do. Our drummer, Scott, who actually put that video together, can tell you that it is easier said than done, and I should probably do the next video. I should edit it next. He's done doing it, and I can't fault him for that.
Well, I'll tell you what, Peter, I know we're coming up on time for your next appointment there, so I want to let folks know that The Devil, the Tower, The Star, the Moon is out now on Gem Records, so they can look for that wherever audio can be accessed these days.
Right on.
Before we wrap it up, is there anything that you want to make sure we touch on? I just
want to say thank you, Michael, for having us. Me in my car. This is great. It's nice to know that like people are still interested in, the dying form of rock and roll, which I'm very thankful for. So I much appreciate it.
Not a problem. So, all right. We'll tell you what, on that note, we'll bring this one to a close. Peter, thanks for being with us. Everybody, thanks for watching. Have a good night.
Thanks.
This has been Music Night at the Majestic with Michael Boswell. If you enjoyed this edition of Music Night at the Majestic, follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and at musicnight.net. Music Night at the Majestic is a copyright production of Starliner Media. Any use of the accounts and descriptions of this program, its audio or visual content, without the express written consent of Starliner Media is prohibited. Thank you for joining us this evening. We'll see you next time for Music Night at the Majestic. This is your announcer speaking. Starliner Media.